Boxing truth here. Doesn't seem much has changed with Al Haymon. Seems like it's business as usual, as he's continuing to provide cannon fodder for HBO fighters. He's providing showcase fights for opponents on the other side of the street. Heyman's just not a guy known for taking risks. He hates taking risks, which is why he has yet to provide an A-side opponent to the other side of the street, or provide a bigger name client. I mean, look how difficult it is for Tom Loffer to make a deal with Haymon concerning one of his bigger name clients in Danny Jacobs. Look at the ongoing process for those negotiations. But when it comes to the pawns on his chessboard, like a John Molina, he's willing to sacrifice a John Molina to the other side. Well, in the case of John Molina, Al Heyman's actually doing his job. He's fulfilling his managerial duties or advisory duties. He's providing John Molina the biggest earning potential in challenging Terrence Crawford for his 2 belts on HBO. There's really nothing to lose. Molina's expected to lose, but he'll be getting a significant fight and the biggest purse he could possibly get in challenging for 2 world titles. But that's the problem. Heyman's has yet to risk a big name opponent. And that's been the issue when it comes to Al Haymon, risking his more viable clients, his bigger name clients. When is Al Haymon going to play nice with all the other promoters? I know he wants control of everything. He wants to run his own show, so he wants to have his champ promoters promote his shows. They'll be mostly his fighters, and they won't be contracted to anybody except him. It's the way Haymon run things for the longest time, and now he's having to adjust because he's getting a lot of pressure from this antitrust suit with Golden Boy. Now all of a sudden he's changing his ways, his methods when it comes to his fighters. But we have yet to see any risky moves from Al Haymon in terms of making real fights with his bigger name clients to the other side of the street, to other entities, for fights that could be made that will make the sport of boxing great again. Enough of this political divide shit. I'm not saying these guys have to work with each other all the fucking time. But on occasion, if a fight makes sense, if a fight could really put a lot of attention on the sport of boxing and it could create the type of revenue that all the parties are interested in, then why not roll the dice? Why can't Haymon just take more risk? If the fight makes sense financially and it makes sense for the sport of boxing. That's all I'm really asking for Al Haymon. He could do his own thing. He could, run his PBC series, try to get some of the networks to provide him license fees. But at the same time, I want him to take risks with some of his fighters. I want the questions to a lot of his fighters to be answered. I want to see some of his fighters finally get some recognition by being in some real fights, the type of fights that can propel their careers to another level. Are we ever going to see Deontay Wilder in those type of fights? Are we ever going to get the questions answered when it comes to his career? Is he a real heavyweight? Or is he just a lab project? Are we going to get questions answered about Keith Thurman, about Gary Russell Jr., and about Adonis Stevenson? When is he going to get the fights that he truly needs? Like the Kovalev Award winner. Is Haymon ever going to sacrifice a big name climbing like Adonis Stevenson? That remains to be seen. Haymon is making good fights for his network on Showtime. But the problem is they're all a bunch of in-house fights or fights affiliated with his PBC series. The sham promoters that he runs, some of their fighters are included. But out of all the promoters in the landscape of boxing, he's been pretty much keeping to himself, while the other promoters in the game, the top promoters in the U.S. at least, have been playing nice with each other. They've been working together. I mean, just look at Golden Boy. They've done the most co-promotions from what I can see out of everybody. They've in the past year they've worked with Rock Nation, they've worked with Main Events, they've worked with Star Boxing, and they've worked with Top Rank. K2 was able to work with Eddie Hearn. Haymon has done some fights with Eddie Hearn as well, but he's provided cannon fodder to Eddie Hearn's heavyweight and Anthony Joshua. That's what I've been seeing from Haymon. He's been providing his lesser known clients and putting him in cash out fights like Charles Martin with Anthony Joshua, Dominic Brazil against Anthony Joshua, the Amir Khan situation against Canelo is debatable. Did Haymon really sign off on that bout, or did Khan enforce his right to take that fight and go across the street to HBO to get knocked out by Canelo? The Dominic Wade fight was a mandated bout against Golovkin. If that fight wasn't a mandatory, that fight would have never happened. So there's some baby steps going on with Haymon. He's made a deal finally with Top Rank that wasn't enforced by a mandatory or a purse bid. So it's baby steps. And now, when it comes to his trial with Golden Boy, he's revised some of his contracts. Doesn't seem like he's no longer providing slave contract rights to his fighters. It was recently reported that he's recently revised his contracts with all the time-buy networks he has. No longer does he have exclusivity rights to those deals. That means other promoters can come and work with Haymon if they want. But Haymon is adjusting. He has to, as he's getting sued by Golden Boy, and there was a recent disposition today. And Haymon is no longer enforcing slave contracts on his fighters where they can only stay with him, that they can't sign with other promoters, and there's no longer exclusivity deals with his time-buy networks. But we have yet to see Haymon risk his bigger name clients to other entities, and that's going to be the part fans are looking forward to the most. Will Haymon finally make some fights that need to be made? Will Adonis Stevenson fight the Kovalev Award winner? Will Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia winner fight Manny Pacquiao? Will Deontay Wilder fight Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury? That's all I really want from Haymon. Just make some big fights. You can do your own thing. You don't got to play nice with the promoters all the time. But at least on occasion, give the fans the fights what they want when it comes to your stable and the other entities in the sport of boxing. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.